here's the great thing about millennials. Millennials are awesome because they do care about purpose, and they do care about solving a problem. They do care about creating impact over money.
Yes.
And when you care about those things first, the money is always there. So millennials are the ultimate people to work with when it comes to building a company. However, the reason they're getting a bad rap is because we have all these older, gray hair, gray beard managers and CEOs that are saying, these guys, they're not motivated by money. Well, why don't you consider this, that it might not be them that's the problem, it's you.
Welcome, everyone, back to the School of Greatness podcast. We've got Andy Frisella in the house. Good to see you, man.
Good to see you, too, man.
Very excited about this. We connected probably 2 years ago, I would say, maybe a little over 2 years ago. And the thing I love about you is you're such a giver. And you just reached out to me and you said, hey, how can I support you? And I had my book coming out around that time, and you just bought a bunch of books, and you said, hey, I'll just support you however I can.
Yeah.
You never asked for anything, and you've just been always a giver. And that's what I love about you the most. And that's the way I like to approach my life. And I know it's paid off for you, 1,000 times over by having that approach. Your company is it a $100 million plus company?
Yeah,
right?
we're due about 150, 160 this year.
150,
yeah.
But who's counting?
Yeah, right.
And but the thing I love about it is, it wasn't always doing that well. I think you said in the first 7 years, it took to get over $700 a month.
Yeah,
right. It
took
7 years to get over $700.
Our first 3 years, our humble beginnings doesn't begin to describe where we came from.
Less than humble beginnings.
Yeah. We started out with literally $12,000 that we had from painting the parking lot stripes. Like, that was our summer job. Okay. And when you're 19, 18 years old, it was
that's
pretty
good money,
job.
man.
Yeah, man.
That's good money.
So me and Chris, my business partner, we had like 12 grand. We said, okay, we're going to start a tanning salon. And
in St. Louis.
Yeah, in St. Louis, right? And no, we were in Springfield, Missouri.
Oh, okay.
So we were at college, and one tanning bed was like 50 grand. We're like, okay, well, we've got 12, so we can't even do that.
Right.
So we're like, let's start selling vitamins. Don't ask me where it came from.
Sure.
And so we couldn't find anybody to rent the space to us because we were kids. We didn't have any credit.
For like a store, you mean?
Yeah, for a storefront. And we went around and we found this guy, and he said, well, we'll rent to you for $1,000 a month, but you got to pay up front. So that took all our money.
Wow.
So for us to finance the rest of the store, we had to go get credit cards, and we put everything on a credit card. We built all the shelves ourselves from stuff that we got at Home Depot, and basically lived at the back of that store on and off for 2 years until we could even afford an apartment.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was very, very, very humble. Our first day we sold $7. It took us 8 months.
Something.
Yeah, man. I mean, the second 2 days, the second and third day we sold zero. So
really,
yeah. So 7 was a big day for us back then.
It's deflating, right?
Yeah.
You make a little, then you make nothing.
Yeah, I mean, and when you start a business, you think that it's just going to come flooding in, and it was a reality check really quick.
You think everyone's going to buy? You've got this great idea,
right? And everybody puts so much weight on their friends, like, oh, all my friends are going to support me.
No,
it's not enough.
They're not.
No, they're not, and it's not enough even if they did.
They say they might,
right?
But until they write a check or give the credit card or pay, they're not.
Right.
That's why I always talk about, I don't care how good your idea is or service is you think it is, sell it first. This is what I like to do. Sell something first, whether it be a service, a software, a coaching, a course, supplements. Do the Kickstarter method.
Right.
And see if people actually pay you for it. Then you can go create it and launch it.
Yeah.
As opposed to like investing all this
we're,
up front.
We're in an amazing time in the ability to test things.
Absolutely. You couldn't do that back then.
That was 99. So, I mean, it was either you made it work or you go out of business.
Yeah.
And so
there's no social media. There's no digital marketing.
No. Right. And the only way that we could get word of mouth out was literally every day I got in my car, drove up and down the streets, knocking door to door to meet people.
Passing out flyers or something.
Anything that we could do. Anything. So it was very different than it is now.
Yeah.
But the principles are still the same, right? Get people to like you, make friends, build relationships. A lot of people rely so heavily on technology now when if they took it back a few steps, they could be a lot more successful.
Yeah. It's all about partnerships and relationships. And you've done an amazing job with that over the years.
Thank you.
And something else that I love that you've done is there's so many traditional businesses that were around in 99, 2000, whatever, that grew and became successful. And as digital media and online marketing and video and all these different platforms that we have became available, they didn't go and innovate with the rest of people.
They didn't transition.
They stayed in that space,
and they're dying.
They're dying.
Right. Yeah, dude. That's one thing that I think is that I'm very proud of.
Yeah.
Is that we've been able to build a successful company pre-social, and then also another company. First Form post-social. So
the superstores was the first thing.
Yeah,
the
supplement superstores. It's a brick and mortar retail company. Yeah. We still own that company.
Yeah. And those are all over the
all
U.S.
over
or the
Midwest.
Midwest.
Yeah. So but the perspective that we gained from having the brick and mortar before pre-social allowed us to learn so many great lessons about how to actually utilize social to engage people.
Yeah.
And it's not just, hey, click a like or share a photo. It's about creating real relationships through this tool. I feel like a lot of people and a lot of companies now, what I observe is that they look at social and the internet and all these conveniences we have as the main way to connect. When in reality, the main way to connect is still going to be this.
That's it.
We're just going to use this as an accessory to that.
To reach more people.
Exactly.
But if we're not, and that's why I think it's so important for people like me and you to continue to be on the phone with people, to continue to meet in person, continue to go to the events where people are at, especially the bigger partners or entrepreneurs, because that's where we do deals. Right. And that's where we build relationships, build like and trust.
Dude, it's everything still. Yeah. And so many people are discounting the face-to-face, that sit down and break bread, shake a hand.
You got to do it.
Dude, it's still everything. It's always going to be everything.
Yeah.
The best part about social is that it's an accelerator to the stories that are told about you. You know what I mean? So it's not how you should build the story. It's how you should let the technology tell the stories that you create here.
Yeah.
No,
it's powerful. And I love the story. I didn't know the full story, and I want to hear it, that you got stabbed. And this was, 13 years ago?
It was 2003.
So this is after,
that was a long time ago.
A few years after your, you launched the supplement store. You're what, 23 years old.
Yeah.
You are walking home from a bar with a neighbor, is that right?
Yeah.
And she's Mexican.
Yeah.
And someone starts yelling racial slurs at her.
Yeah.
And then what happens? Your ego gets in the way. And
yeah, man. I mean, dude, I'm a red-blooded
protector, defender,
blue-collar dude, man, from Missouri.
Of course, I feel you.
Yeah, I'm not gonna let somebody talk that kind of stuff, And so we got into.
Was he drunk too? I'm assuming it was like a whole.
Oh, dude, it came out he was on all kinds of drugs. That was his defense in court. I was high. I almost killed you, but I was high, so you should let me off. But anyhow, yeah, man, and.
So what happened? He starts yelling slurs.
Yeah, he was in a car, and he was parked in front of my apartment. So he's yelling at me.
This is St. Louis.
Yeah, in Springfield.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So he's yelling at me, and we're going back and forth, and he's parked directly in front of where I was living. So we're having this argument, and if I walk in,
he knows
where I live, right? So I walk up to the car. We start arguing through the car. We get in like a little altercation through the window of the car.
Really?
All right. And he rolls my arm up in the car. And I turn around to walk away, and I pretend like I'm going to call the police. And I say, hey, man, I'm calling the cops, get out of here. And, I'm trying to keep it clean on your show.
Sure.
But
yes, with other words.
Yeah, right. So, and I turn my back, and
you were like, hey, man, I'm going to go call the cops.
Right. Hey, buddy. Yeah. I don't like the way you're talking to my girl.
Right, exactly.
So you turn around. I turn around, and he came up behind me, and he stabbed me here, and he was trying to stab me in the throat. So, you could see it here a little bit.
Wow, he came from behind and tried to,
Yeah, and I heard him right behind me, and I turned like that, and that blocked him from stabbing me in the throat.
Oh, my gosh, man.
Yeah. And then when I turned around, I didn't know he stabbed me. I thought he punched me. And
because it probably so fast.
It happened quick, right. And
dang, that's hard to.
Yeah, right. And so I turned around, and then he stabbed me here, and then in the back. And
wow, man.
And I ended up choking on my own blood and falling on the ground. And I mean, it was pretty brutal stuff. And the last thing I remember is riding to the hospital in the ambulance, and before I passed out, and the nurse or the EMT saying in the radio, I can't stop the bleeding. I don't know how to stop. She's freaking out, and I'm like, oh, dude, I'm gonna fucking die. Yeah, I'm dead. So, I wake up in the hospital, and my face is all stitched up, and and it was that was kind of the easy part of it. believe it or not.
You can take the pain.
Yeah,
you can
man.
take the
Yeah, but my face swelled up like real big for like a year because he severed a blood vessel and it kept leaking.
Oh my gosh, man.
And so my face was like, I don't have any feeling on this side of my face at all anymore.
Can't feel it all here.
So like when I smile, like it doesn't go up.
Oh wow, yeah.
So it's like totally dead over here still.
Oh man.
But yeah, man, it was rough because my face was completely disfigured. I mean, it's gotten way better with time.
Yeah.
But I mean,
for years it was like
it looked like terrible.
Hard to look at yourself.
Yeah, right. And it's an overnight thing, and you can't fix it. And I didn't have the money to have surgery or fix it or anything.
Oh man.
And so I got, that's your face, man. Like I'm in college, I'm in the prime of my youthful years.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm out chasing girls and having fun, and all of a sudden now I've got like this screwed up face. And
it's not so fun anymore.
No, man, it was not. And then I'm in retail, so like I'm dealing with people all the day. So I have people that come up and they either do one of two things. They either look at the ground while they're talking to you, or they look at you and they're like, "Dude, what happened to your face?" So you get one or two reactions, and that would just further like how it was. People were noticing and how you felt, and
you have to constantly say what happened, the story, or
right,
make something up.
Yeah, I just made up all the time. I told people I got in a car accident.
Right.
Yeah,
of course.
And but I got really depressed, man. Like real depressed. Like suicidal depressed for probably 2-3 years.
Wow. To
where I was totally, I mean, dude, you're not getting that back.
Yeah.
And I still don't have it back. You know what I mean? And when at that time of your life, I'm not successful. I'm not really seeing any traction.
You're not making money. The business isn't growing.
No, I don't have anything. I'm just like, this is what the fuck,
Yeah.
And so yeah, man. And then you start feeling sorry for yourself, and you start going down it's a spiral, man.
Mm-hmm.
You start adding fuel to the fire and just going into that dark place and constantly staying there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And feeling sorry for yourself, and it just spirals, and you get to a point where you're like, well, what's the point of this? This is not fun.
Yeah.
And I'm a big believer that things happen for a reason, and that you have to pay attention for things to happen, why they happen, and look for them. But I learned that in one moment. I was walking through, it was an IGA, which I don't even know if you guys know what that is out here.
Is that like a drive-through?
It's a grocery store. Yeah.
Yes, of course.
It's like an old rural type
yes,
store.
Of course.
So,
yes. Isn't they have a drive-through too, or no?
I don't know.
Do you know in Ohio we have drive-through where you can like pick up beer? Do you guys have that?
Like packaged liquor?
You can like pick up anything like snacks, beer.
Really?
You like
Yeah, we
drive
don't
through.
have that.
This must be an Ohio thing. I don't know.
Yeah, it's weird, man. Yeah, but
so you got IGA.
So I'm walking through, pushing my cart down the aisle, and I come to the T at the aisle, and I'm like looking like this, and I hit this cart, and I'm like, and I look around, and at this time I'm like very antisocial. I'm not looking at people. I'm looking at the floor all the time.
Yeah.
Totally the opposite of what I am now. Mm-hmm. And I look up, and there's this person there that and I say thing because I didn't know if it was a male or female because its face had been like completely burned off.
No way.
Yeah, like completely burned off, and it was wearing like a bucket hat, no face.
So
like
you couldn't tell.
No, I couldn't tell if it was a male or female.
Wow.
It ended up being a female. But she looks at me, and I look at her, and she looks back at me, and I look at her, and she looks at me, and she goes, "Dude, what the fuck happened to your face?" Like she knew that I knew, and like made a joke, like she knew it, you know what I'm saying? So it was like an instant connection, and dude, I just busted out laughing, and we started talking, and it turns out she was in a plane crash, and her whole family had died in a small plane. She's the only one that lived, and total disfigurement.
You couldn't see. You couldn't.
Yeah, like I mean. And so we spent like 10, 15 minutes talking, and dude, I walked out of that store feeling the best I'd ever felt in my life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the perspective change was instant, and I got over all the negative shit like literally in a 10-minute conversation.
Wow.
And I never saw that lady again. Never talked to her again. It just totally changed my whole perspective on everything, and it was a powerful thing, man.
What'd you do after that? Did you commit to some vision?
I just started looking for what the good things were about it, and there was some good things. For example, when you're building a business, one of the biggest challenges is that you want people to remember you and know who you are, and
they remembered your face.
Yeah, so like I would go places, and this was happening before I met this lady, obviously, but I wasn't paying attention to it as something that was positive. Right. So like I would go to a trade show or go to an event, and people would say, "Oh yeah, Andy, the dude with the stars," right? and I would get pissed, but now I'm like looking at it, I'm like, wait. I could use this.
Yeah, Scarface Andy.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. Yeah. And so I would go to these national trade shows and meet people, and they would remember me like that. Mm-hmm. And it was already happening. I just wasn't seeing it as a good thing. And then I was like, okay, this I could use this. And it started working in my favor. Based solely off my ability to see it in a different way.
Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah. There's a principle from my book where I talk about from all the people I've interviewed. They always have some type of adversity that they turn into their advantage.
Right.
And that's what you did.
Yeah.
You had this adversity.
You're like the alchemist of everything, but especially adversity.
That's it.
And I think that's a trait amongst all successful people. I think if you see or talk to or get in a conversation deep enough with somebody who's actually built something of their life, they're going to be able to tell you something that was terrible, and they're going to be able to show you how they saw it as an advantage. Mm-hmm. And I think that's such a huge key. How many things do we hear about from the average Joe that, you or I or any of these other guys could look at and be like, wait, dude, this is actually a good thing if you look at it this way. They're like, no, it's terrible.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
If you ask anyone who's made a difference in the world or anyone who's had a massive business, any great athlete, whatever it may be, scientist, doctor, it doesn't matter who it is. If they're at the top of their game, they've gone through some extreme adversity some point in their life.
Right.
Maybe it was when they were 8. Maybe it was when they're 28.
Right.
Maybe it was when they're 48.
Right.
But they've gone through something extreme that they've had to overcome.
Right. And, dude, those things are the things that are going to teach you what to do when things go wrong, how to react. They're going to give you your strength. They're going to give you your competitive advantage. And people spend so much time trying to seek the comfort that society tells us we have to have, right? They say, oh, well, get a safe job and marry and have 2.5 kids and do all this shit that like is considered safe. Mm-hmm. And people seek the path of least resistance. And by doing that, they avoid all these things that could potentially end up making them so much more fulfilled, impactful, and all the great things that, make people quote unquote successful, and not just financially, but in any area.
Right. Where do you think you'd be if you didn't get in that fight that night?
Dude, I don't think I would. I don't know. I don't think I would be here. You know what I mean? Because it was that impactful on how I see my whole worldview.
Yeah.
That I just don't know what could have. That's why I say, like, I actually look back now and I'm like, dude, that happened for a specific reason.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I was out drinking a lot and like getting in scraps with people and just doing dumb kid shit.
Yeah.
And it straightened me out like instantly and got me focused on business. It got me focused, on the path I am now. I certainly wouldn't, I don't know, man. I don't think it would be anything like
what you have now.
Yeah. It'd be a totally different life.
Wow.
Yeah. I honestly, I tell people all the time, I think it's the best thing that ever happened.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for me, whenever my injuries were the best thing that happened to me, the things that got me out of that, my sports career, got me thinking differently.
Right.
It got me thinking bigger.
Right.
And I went through, a period of time where I was depressed and like, what was me type of attitude and pissed off at the world. But then I was like, let me make something of this and figure it out.
Right.
And I think we need those. If I would have never got injured and never had any pain,
you wouldn't be who you are.
Be here.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
And now what you're doing is so much bigger on the big picture scale. And dude, and the great thing about that, because I was an athlete too, is that now you have your whole career ahead of you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. I'm not like just
you're not
starting
getting
now.
retired.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's, I think about that a lot too, because I always wanted to be a pro athlete growing up. And,
you a football player, right? Or?
Yeah. Yeah. My brother played minor league ball and
baseball.
Yeah. And so we were, it was always like something that we dreamt about, and then when those things didn't happen, and that played into my whole depression. I'm like, dude, I failed at this. I failed at that. I'm not,
My face is messed up.
Yeah, I can't meet any girls. You know what I mean? Like all the things.
My business sucks. I'm worthless.
Right.
Why even be here?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And I think there's so many people that are like that just have not had an experience that snapped them out of it, or chosen to actually think about like, hey, what could I do with the situation I have to make good of it, as opposed to going down in the dark hole. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just, I don't know. It's interesting to see how people react to adversity. I think it defines just about everything productive out of somebody's existence.
Now, do you feel like this, because that was a big trauma of yours, do you feel like that trauma still affects you in a negative way today, or have you kind of been able to process it and move through it in a way?
No, I think I'm pretty good. I'm the only thing that I think it still sticks with me about it is that, well, a couple things. One, I'll say this. If you're somebody who, because I think a lot of people see people who are in wheelchairs or who are deformed or have differences, and they try to like look away because they're uncomfortable. Don't do that. Like, that makes people feel like total dog shit. You know what I mean? So when you see somebody who is in a wheelchair or who is different, go out of your way to say hi. Those people are normal people too, because I think that was one of the things that really affected me at the time, was the way that other people would just, like, they would look at you and look away because they didn't want to feel like they were staring. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, dude, I know I got this. Like, you're not. It's okay to look.
Yeah.
Say hi. You know what I mean? That was one thing that I think has always stuck with me since then. So I try to make sure that I go out of my way to make people who are different feel comfortable. And I always like to say that when I tell the story, because I don't think people really think about how impactful that is on people.
Yeah.
You know, negative wise, I would say the only thing negative, and I don't even know if it's negative, but that still sticks with me about it, is I'm just very aware of my surroundings all the time, because it happens so quick, the actual act of it, that, like, you know, I'm just very, not nervous, but I'm like aware. When I'm around people, I'm very aware of what's going on.
Yeah.
And
I don't have any knives around me, don't
right, yeah. No,
my hands are in plain sight.
And so it makes me, sometimes it makes it hard for me to relax.
Yeah.
You know, when I'm in a crowd, I get a little, not nervous, but just on edge.
You never know.
Right.
It could be anything. There's a bunch of people up around you. It's
exactly. And so I think that's something, that would be the only thing I would say negative that stuck with me. All the other things that's come of it positive. You know, I had to let go and forgive that dude a long time ago.
Were you able to?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't talk to him, but I mean, I don't wish bad on him. You know what I mean? Like, like everybody's like, "Oh, don't you wish all these bad things?" And I'm like, no, because that, you know, he went to jail. He
did go to jail.
Yeah, for 3 years he spent in jail. You know, that's a considerable amount of time, more than I want to spend in jail. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, but you know, people do dumb shit, and I'm sure he probably learned his lesson, and I'm hopefully. Yeah, you know, and maybe not, but I can't hold on to that.
It's not going to help you.
No, it's going to hurt me. Yeah. And, you know, I don't have any animosity about the situation. And quite honestly, you know, like I said, I really do believe it's one of the best things that ever happened. So how can I can't feel good about it in one way and then be mad about it another way. You know what I mean?
If you could go back to that night, would you do anything differently?
No. Yeah, I wouldn't.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, like, I went to my friend, my really good friend in St. Louis, Mike Nyack, is a facial plastic surgeon. He's the president of facial plastic surgery, and he asked me the other day, he's like, "Man, do you want me to fix?" Yeah, and I'm like, "No." He's like, "Because I can afford it now,
right.
You know." But I'm like, "No." I'm like, you know, it's part of who I am. You know, if I get it fixed, it's going to take away from that. So I just yeah.
And I'm curious, why didn't he, you know, finish you off? If you're laying there on the ground, why didn't he just
dude, my buddy who still works, my buddy who runs the distribution for First Form was with me. Like, and he was like 10 yards away and like tackled the dude.
Really?
Yeah. So like, he didn't know, dude, it happened so quick, you couldn't have, it was dark.
He didn't know he even had a knife. Probably. It was just like, oh, what happened? He
Right.
just punched you or something?
Yes, exactly. And he like tackled the dude and pulled him off of me, and the dude ran.
Oh.
And then there was a police officer in a parking lot that was adjacent that I happened to actually know.
Wow.
Like, I know this dude. He witnessed the whole thing. So like, when it, you know, the guy ended up pleading guilty because it was a solid
proof.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Wow.
But yeah, so I mean, my buddy, who I'm still, you know, my best friend, he's in my wedding and he works for me.
He saved you.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
crazy. What happened to that guy's car? I'm curious.
To his car.
The guy.
Oh, dude, he got in the car and drove off.
Oh, he got in the car.
Yeah, and he drove off, and then the cops pulled him over like a block away.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, if that was your buddy and I would have tackled him, I would have been like beating his car.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. No, man,
stabbing everything.
Yeah,
you know,
it
like
was
the tires.
Dude, it was so fast. Like, it was like it sounds like this big long story.
No, it was
it's like
10 seconds.
Right. It was like 30 seconds max.
But it seemed like forever, probably, right?
Yeah, and I mean, when I live it, it's like that. It's weird how things are like. You ever been in a car wreck and like you're like hitting shit, and then all of a sudden it gets quiet, and you're like waiting for something else to happen?
Yeah.
It's like that.
Oh, wow, man. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So were you just like holding your neck the whole time, or what were you doing? You didn't
No, dude.
aware.
I didn't know. I still didn't know that he had stabbed me. So I started swallowing my own blood.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and the cop called the ambulance, and it was there like
quick.
Yeah, super quick.
Wow.
And they're like, "You got to go. We're taking." I'm like, "No, I'm fine." Yeah, because I thought the guy, like he had just beat me up.
Right.
And I was just busted open, and they're like, "Dude, this guy's like."
He's got you in the face here.
Yeah.
So you got a big gash probably, then a big gash.
Yeah, this one
here.
was like hanging open like to the bone.
Yeah.
And this one here was through my face into my teeth. Yeah.
Gosh, man.
Yeah. So it was brutal.
But you had so much adrenaline, you probably weren't aware of what was.
No, you wouldn't be any different. Nobody would.
You'd be like,
They're like,
I'm good.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I was going to shot.
Take me up.
Right. I wasn't trying to be a badass. I was just didn't realize how bad it was.
Wow. Gosh, man, that's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
That's a crazy story. Now, were you this big? Like, were you like a big, strong guy back then, or were you like?
No, I was just like a little wiener. Yeah.
You were a skinny guy then?
No, dude.
I didn't know,
man. I was like born this big. Yeah.
No. I don't know if you were like Jack.
No, I was in good shape.
Wow.
I was like 250 and like lean. Like
Gosh,
this dude was like, and that was like the thing because my buddy Scott was like, this guy was like 180 and like just kicked my ass.
Yeah, knifed.
Yeah,
doesn't matter how big you are. You got a knife or a gun.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
Nowadays, it doesn't matter because you got all these dudes that are MMA trained.
Oh my gosh.
So like you don't
want to
know
mess with a 120 pound guy might kill you.
No, these dudes. That's what's so funny. These dudes who like lift weights and they're big and they walk around and they're like, oh, that guy's only 150. I'm like, that guy would kick your ass.
Yeah, exactly.
Some of these girls would kick your ass too.
I know, man.
Yeah.
I would not want to mess with people in the
that
ring.
train, right?
I'm not even gonna try to have act like I'm a big guy or anything.
No, man.
Now you talk about the importance of starting your business when you're broke. Why do you think that's something that people should do? Because there's a lot of people that listen to your podcast, which everyone should download, the MFCEO Project, correct?
Yep.
Make sure you guys go check it out. You do it once a week?
Twice a week.
Twice a week.
So we have a full-length episode on Tuesdays and then a 10-minute episode called Thursday Thunder on Thursdays.
Oh, that's a good name.
Yeah.
I like that name.
So that's all motivation on Thursday.
Yeah.
Tuesday's practical entrepreneurial mindset advice.
Yes. And then get it at iTunes or the MFCEOproject.com.
Yep.
Right? And you talk about building a business while you're broke. And I know there's a lot of people that listen to you, and there's people who are here who are beginners or are just getting out of college or whatever, or maybe they're leaving a career and they're starting something. They want to try something on their own. Why do it when you're broke? Or that mentality. At least.
So I call that zero option mentality. It's something I talk about a lot on the podcast. Basically, you want to get yourself in much of a situation as possible to where you don't have an option but to succeed. People use the idea of I don't have the funds or I don't have the resources, I don't have this as an excuse so often.
I hate that.
Dude.
I hate it.
Because I'm like, dude, this is the best thing you could ever have. It is the best thing you could ever have.
Getting the investment is not going to help you,
no,
in my mind.
You're just going to go spend it. Right.
And then you're not going to be resourceful.
Right. And you could think about this. So you have you who has zero resources, and then you have your competition who's got rich parents or an investor or inheritance or some other thing that you don't have in your own mind, right? But he's got quote-unquote resources.
Money.
Right.
Yeah.
You, to get successful, are going to have to go out, get creative, and think. You're going to have to become resourceful. You're going to have to get yourself solutions to problems that money can't buy.
Yes.
Okay? And that is going to all bank in your little pea brain as competitive advantage over the long haul. Mm-hmm. So let's say 10 years later, you have you who has 10 years worth of creative lessons, resourcefulness, innovation, creative solutions. And then you have your competitor who was able to buy his way into the market because his mom and dad gave him $10 million. Right. This dude hasn't learned shit for 10 years. Okay? He has bought his way into his market share, and then all of a sudden you guys converge, and you have to compete. Who's going to win that battle? The creative guy is always going to win. Yeah. The resourceful guy is always going to win because he's going to be able to figure out how to get the most result for the least amount of money and be effective. And people want to jump from day 1 to day 10 by getting some big seed money or big investment. And dude, I don't care how much money I made. I try to pretend like I'm broke every single day in the way that I think, because it forces me to create new solutions and innovate in my brain, you know? And so when people say, oh, like you said, I hate it when people say that. I do too, because you're missing the point of what the entrepreneurial journey is about. It's about taking an idea. It's about executing on the idea. And it's not about having the perfect plan. It's about your ability to adjust and create and improvise your way through this path, you know? And so many people, especially with the way the internet is right now, you and I have talked about this many times, you got these make $1 trillion in 12-month guys advertising shit on the internet, and these young kids, they think that that's what that's the way it goes, and it's just not. You know, you're not going to go. It
takes time,
dude. It takes time, and you want the lessons. You know, dude, we're going to be in business for 30, 40 years. You know, calm down. You know what I'm saying? Like, dude, some of the best times I had in business were when I was broke. Like, dude, and we were living in the back of that store, and we were like buying 12 packs of Natural Light and beer bonging them in the back. You know what I'm saying? Like,
and just trying to make a couple $100.
Yeah, dude. You know? Like, so we could go out and you know, go get pizzas and shit. Like, that was fun, dude. And people don't realize, like, you don't want to skip that stuff. Like, that's a cool part of the journey. You know, it's not all about the money, man. The money makes things a little more interesting, but you know, at the end of the day, and it sounds corny, right? It's about the journey, but it really is about the journey, man. You know, and you don't want to try to jump past all the good stuff that you're going to experience because you're in some sort of hurry. Because not only are you going to miss all this cool stuff, you're going to discount your education to level 0, you know, by getting somebody to give you X amount of dollars. I mean, dude, if somebody had given me $1 million the day that I started, I would have blown it in a week. You know, oh, we could do this, we could do that. Dude, I don't care how much money you have. Time is a factor in business. You know, like, it takes people, as, you know, we talked earlier about the human relationship part and connection part of business. It takes people time to like and trust and become loyal to a concept. So that's why you see people who they get these big $40 million Super Bowl commercials. You never hear from them again. You know what I mean? Because, dude, you can't buy your way into a market. It comes through
Doesn't
trust.
matter how creative the commercial is, how funny, catchy. Maybe they'll remember you for 3 weeks. But they're not going to stay with you for a lifetime.
Exactly.
As if you built them a relationship.
Exactly.
And, you know, that's something you do great is you're building consistent content. You know, something with my podcast as well. I've been around for over 4 years with the podcast. So many new podcasters come out and say, well, how do I get this many downloads really quick? I'm like, you got to, like,
dude, you got to pay your dues, bro.
My first year, I got 700,000 downloads the whole year. Right? Now we're getting more than double that a month. But it's like, because I've been consistent every single week for over 4 years. You can't just hope in 30 days you're going to be like the top of the charts and stay there. No. And the other thing is you're hitting on it. Like, you've got to be diligent to be consistent. Like, dude, we do Tuesdays and Thursdays every week. We've done that for 2.5 years now. You know, our podcast is growing. It's getting big. And it's not just about creating something. It's about getting it out there in a consistent way as well. And I talk about a lot of authors come to me and say, well, how do you make it, you know, a bestseller? And I'm like, because I'm constantly promoting. And something you do so well is, like, you're constantly creating unique content to share to the world that adds value consistently.
Thank you.
If you just posted a podcast and said, and then just hope people find it, it's not going to happen. You've got to put it out there and tease people to get in there. Well, and constantly. So that brings up a whole nother point, all right? That's the lack of patience and the lack of consistency. And so what we have now, and you have a pretty big millennial audience, I would say, right? It's broad, but yes, it's there too.
So I want to talk to those guys just for a minute. Because they get a bad rap, in my opinion. My company is made up of all millennials except 5 people. All right. And they are the hardest working, best employees, best team that you could ever imagine. And
you find the hungry ones.
Well, so it's not that they're not hungry, because I see all this stuff that's put out. Like, I saw Simon Sinek's interview where he said, and I thought for the most part he was spot on, but he said something that irked me in that interview. And he said, millennials want to they work for a purpose, whatever that means. And the thing about working for a purpose is that we're in a situation where business is so transparent that for us to get customers to become loyal to us, we have to go and lead with purpose first. If we lead with profit, they're going to see through it.
Right.
So we've got to solve their problems. Otherwise, they're going to post about it, they're going to talk about it, they're going to share about it, and people are going to know that you don't give a shit about your customers instantly.
Yeah.
All right, so you're dead. Here's the great thing about millennials. Millennials are awesome because they do care about purpose, and they do care about solving a problem. They do care about creating impact over money.
Yes.
And when you care about those things first, the money is always there. So millennials are the ultimate people to work with when it comes to building a company. However, the reason they're getting a bad rap is because we have all these older, gray hair, gray beard managers and CEOs. They're saying these guys, they're not motivated by money. Well, why don't you consider this, that it might not be them that's the problem, it's you. It's you trying to motivate them the way that you were motivated when you were 20 years old, by getting an extra spiff or an extra commission or extra this, because financially, financial hunger was more important in that generation. So we have a situation where we have this amazing workforce who is able to solve problems being driven by purpose, and they're getting this bad reputation for no reason.
Right.
Okay. And when we talked about a minute ago, what we were talking about was being consistent and being patient. That's the downfall of the millennials. Okay. So it's
They
not
want it now.
Yes. But you can't blame them for wanting it now, because think about how you and I grew up, right? We didn't have, we were like the last generation that grew up with like old technology.
Yes.
And then now we're in new technology.
I got a cell phone when I was 17.
Exactly.
And I was the first one in my high school to get a cell phone.
Exactly. Me too.
But it wasn't like, smartphone. It was like,
It was like
a flip phone.
Yeah, StarTAC.
yeah,
right. So like
Singular. That was my provider.
Right.
Singular.
right. So you have to understand, these people who are now 20 years old to 25 years old, and they're very young, they grew up in a situation with social media, with texting, with everything instant
gratification. Yes.
Everything instant.
Information instant.
Instant. You couldn't do. There wasn't Google when I was starting in business.
No.
I couldn't get on the internet. What was the internet?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I had to read a newspaper.
Yeah.
Dude, I had a fucking beeper.
Yellow Pages.
Dude, a beeper.
I remember.
You know what I'm saying? Like, dude, my girlfriend in high school, she wanted to say I love you. She had like text me like the code of the beeper. You know what I'm saying?
Morse code.
Right.
Yeah.
So like, you can't blame a whole generation of people because they were raised in a time, in an era that doesn't really cultivate patience. So when I say I want to speak to the millennials, you guys have to work on your patience, because what Lewis is saying about being consistent with, putting out content every single day for a year, or, working on your business every single day, all day for 5 years to build a multi-million-dollar brand, that's not going to change. So you have to understand, you guys have an awesome asset by being purpose-driven, and you're set up because you understand technology, but please understand that patience part of it is not going to change. It's still going to take time. It's always going to take time for us to adopt a concept, for us to become, to like a concept, to trust a concept, to become loyal to a concept when we're buying things. And it's going to be no different if you're selling things. Mm-hmm. So, if you're a millennial entrepreneur listening to this, dude, remember, use the technology, but don't rely on it and think that shit's going to happen like it has your whole life. The patience aspect, the time aspect of human psychology is always going to be there.
Absolutely. That's a great segment there. And one of the things that I think is important is that any entrepreneur today, I believe, needs to have a purpose behind their mission, behind their business.
Right.
Otherwise, you're not going to get the millennial customers who want to buy because of a purpose.
They want to believe.
They want to consume something,
That's right.
whether it's supplements or a service, a software, whatever it is, clothing line. They want to be attached to a mission bigger than just product.
That's right.
And that's why I think it's so important to talk about what our purpose is as a company, or as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as opposed to just creating courses. Like, give some of that for a bigger purpose, back to something, and have that lead with your mission that way. Right. And what do you guys do about that with your company?
Well, so my biggest thing with First Form, I'm going to talk about that because it's a global brand now.
Yeah. $160 million a year, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
and we're selling national and international.
Yeah.
We've got 3,000 outside reps. We're not multi-level. We do direct rep program. We call it the Legionnaire program. So we go out, we find people who, trainers, influencers, regular people who want to start a business,
Yep.
and we teach them everything how to do it. Now, we don't have them do all the annoying stuff that, like,
signing people up.
Right,
Yeah,
it's none of that. But
they're selling products.
They're representatives of the brand. They sell product to make money.
So what's different between that and like affiliate commissions? Like influencer just makes money off commissions.
So basically, it's very similar.
Yeah.
So it's actually the same thing. A lot of it's just in person. You know what I mean?
Got it.
So the thing is you have to understand people and they want to be a part of something. Okay, we all have a need to feel a part of something, and so many brands right now are discounting this aspect of their business. Now, and the aspect I'm talking about is culture, okay? Now, if you want to look at a case study on culture, let's look at Harley Davidson, all right? You can go to any tattoo parlor on the face of the earth, and they will have a book of Harley Davidson tattoos.
Wow.
That's culture. That's people saying, dude, I belong to this. No matter what color I am, no matter what gender I am, no matter what sexual orientation I am, no matter what, if I ride a Harley and I meet another person that rides a Harley, we're automatically connected. Okay? That's culture. And so many brands are not understanding that is the ultimate competitive advantage that you can create, because once people decide that they're a part of something, it's very hard for them to decide that they're not a part of something. All right? So, for example, like let's say, just use Harley for example. Victory Motorcycles, which is a terrific brand. They make an excellent motorcycle. Some would even say far superior than Harley.
Really?
But people will not switch because they don't have a culture, right? Because if you ride up to
a community.
That's right. Right. And so it insulates you from your competition, a strong culture does.
Wow.
So, all these people are trying to compete on price, or trying to compete on, all these different things. When
price, quality, doesn't
really
matter.
Really what they should be doing is trying to create a situation where customers feel engaged with the brand 100% to where they're loyal. And that comes through a multitude of different things, and purpose is the biggest part of it. So like with our brand, our big initiative with purpose is that, dude, we include everybody. I don't care if you're a fitness star with 10 million followers, which we have those, or if you're a mom who's got to lose 200 or 300 pounds, we're inclusive. We want people to feel a part of our family. We want people to understand that fitness is not just for these people who look beautiful on the internet.
Right.
The people who need fitness the most are the ones that are most terrified of going into a gym. And that's a culture in our industry that is very toxic, because why should, somebody who's 200 pounds overweight that needs to go to the gym the most be afraid to go to the fucking gym?
Right.
That's not right. And so then that comes from massive egos, people who look down, make jokes. Dude, it's just, we're not about that, man. We're about creating a community of help. The people who have the 10 million followers who are fitness experts are out there holding the hands of, the mom who needs to lose 250 pounds and showing them how to do it.
Yeah.
And that's the difference with our brand.
Wow.
It's not, hey, look at us. It's, hey, you're a part of us. You know what I mean?
That's powerful.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to someone who's looking to create a culture then, if they're like, well, I don't know how to do that?
Okay.
And
So
how do we empower our community to be the heroes?
That's a great question. It's actually a very simple answer. Identify the core values that you stand for. So what your company stands for. What does it stand for? What are you trying to do? What are the actual values? Do the right thing, go the extra mile for people, take initiative to help people. You could define those, okay? So define half a dozen or a dozen core values that your company lives by, and then communicate to your employees and your customers in those core values. And if you do that, the culture will naturally form. So
kind of create a value statement or a list.
It's just real easy. We have 10, and then we go through and when we talk about those values. And it's just communicating and obviously living the brand through those values. Right. So like all of our marketing, all of our advertisement, all of our content, all of our products, all of our service, everything aligns with that. So when you build a product that aligns with those values and you're living it by example and you're always speaking about it, eventually people start to fall in line.
What do you think is missing? What are people missing in providing a quality service today in business?
I think today the biggest missing gap when it comes to quality service comes from the fact that the lack of patience again. Okay. I think a lot of people they're so focused on today's ROI that they lose the perspective of what a customer is worth over the lifetime.
Right.
And so I think that's the biggest part that's missing right now is the understanding that the way you grow a multi-million, a 9-figure, $1 billion brand is by retaining people and getting people to go out and tell the stories for you. Because now we live in this situation where, like we talked about earlier, social media is an accelerator for the story. So 15 years ago, if you did a really cool thing for a customer, they could tell 3 people and maybe 10 would know about it.
Right.
Now, hundreds can know instantly. So take some of the money that you're using to try to acquire all these customers and put it back towards, the stories that you could create through great service and let them grow your brand for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we have these amazing tools with social now for us to do that, and nobody's doing it.
Yeah.
People are, because of Facebook ads and affiliates and all the stuff that's out there right now, everybody's focused on acquiring. No one's focused on retaining or creating loyalty. And if you can be somebody who focuses on retaining and creating loyalty, these people have the ability to build your brand for you through the word of mouth. And that's how we buy. Yeah. How do we buy things? Why do you buy the shoes that you wear? Why do you buy the shirt that you wear? You don't buy it because you saw a commercial on TV. We bought it because somebody that we admire or respect in that way or think is cool, we saw them wear it. Right. And we're like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
They might not have told us to buy it, but
I bought the LeBron James shoes recently because I like LeBron.
Right, exactly.
He's wearing them.
Right,
It's like, yeah.
And that's why we buy. We don't buy because a company tells us. We buy because a person tells us.
Yeah.
And so, I think that's the biggest gap missing right now is that people are not utilizing the power of social media and social connection to tell great stories.
And where do you think your business would be if you didn't have influencers promoting?
I just started that. And, dude, I haven't paid. First Form has not paid one influencer until 2017. And we grew to $120 million without spending $1 on advertising, all based around the stories aspect we're talking about. Wow. So all organic growth.
And what has influencers done for you then, I guess, in the last few months?
It's still, it's helped us. So basically the purpose of influencers is to get new eyeballs on the brand.
Of course.
Right? But we want people to look at our brand, be excited about the brand, possibly join the brand if they're a good fit. If they're not a good fit, I don't want them.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then become loyal to the brand. So basically it just gives us a chance to gain, more eyeballs. It's not, hey, I want to sell these people something today. Right. I want to capture them forever. Yeah. So
that's powerful.
Yeah. And most of our athletes are all just regular people who they're not like these paid celebrities. They're people who have regular jobs, who live regular lives, who use fitness to enhance those lives and set a realistic expectation of what, that lifestyle should be.
Right.
Like, dude, this stuff of like, I work out 7 hours a day. That's not realistic, man. Yeah. You know what I mean? Nobody's doing that.
You're not living a life. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's cool. And on a few more questions. One is, as you've grown, you've got more and more employees, right? You've got a bigger and bigger team. How did you go from essentially being you in a store with a buddy or two to managing a team? And what's the difference between managing and leading a team?
Ooh, man. Well, the growth happened organically. Like a lot of people, I think, in business make a mistake where they try to have employees or have people in this department or that department before they actually need them because they want to quote unquote play. I call it play business. I want to have this person. I want to have that person.
Yeah.
Dude, don't hire people until you need it. There's certain exceptions to that. Like great customer service people can actually turn into a positive, cash flow situation where you're actually able to service more people and make more money. It's an investment. But most of the growth happens organically. But the difference between managing and leading, to me, and I think if you ask 10 people, they're going to get 10 different answers,
sure.
Which is why it's a cool question. I think managing is the enforcement of policy, and I think leading is inspiring people to be the best that they can be. And I think that's the difference. You have a good manager, they can enforce the rules, they can make sure nobody's, messing up. But at the end of the day, they're going to stifle potential of all your employees. You're not going to have the growth that you would have amongst those, the personal development growth, which is what you need in a company, because you want people to come in, move up, succeed, create, new career opportunities, because if they grow, you grow, and everybody's happy. So a manager will stifle those things. I think a leader will bring those things out.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
This question is called The Three Truths. And if this was the last day for you many years from now, and you only got to share 3 final thoughts, and there was no other content about you out there, you write kids' books as well. We forgot to mention you've got other content constantly putting out there. But if all this stuff you weren't able to share anymore, and you only had 3 things you could say, that would be the lessons you leave behind to the world, what would those 3 truths be?
I think the first thing would be always do the right thing. Always do what you feel is right. And sometimes what you feel is right is going to be wrong. But I feel like if the intention is always that you're trying to do the right thing, you can always recover even when it's wrong and make it right. I would say that's the first thing. I've been very fortunate with that mentality. 2 is give more than you take. I feel like if you give more than you take, you're always going to feel good about everything that you have in your life. You're not going to feel guilty about the blessings that you have or the good things that you have. I see a lot of guys who feel like they don't deserve what they have, and I feel like that's because they've taken it all and not given more. I feel like we all have the internal drive to contribute and be a part of something, and I think that giving is a big part of that. I really feel like, for me personally, giving is creates much more happiness in my day-to-day life than anything else. Third, I don't know. Those first 2 ones are the main ones. I think third, if we're going to make it a business thing, it would be to always focus on making impact over making a dollar. I think, people get so focused on making a dollar that they lose the idea that we're here to provide a solution, we're here to provide an impact, and that's what makes the dollars. So focus on the impact and forget about the dollars, and the bigger impact you make, the dollars will naturally come. That's a little bit more business minded, but I think the first 2 cover my life.
Yeah, it's great.
So
it's great. This is a fun question I like to ask people. If you had a tattoo on your forehead for the rest of your life that was in reverse, that you could only see when you're in the mirror, what would that tattoo say? It was a word or a phrase?
Calm down. Yeah. So I mean, you know me, dude. You know me for a few years. I have a tendency to get super riled up. I mean, if you listen to my podcast or follow me, that's how most people know me. And I'm impatient and I'm intense and I want to win today. And so that's why I can relate with the millennials so well, because, dude, I want it today too. I've just learned through experience that, your cake, just because you turn the oven up to 800 degrees doesn't mean it's going to bake twice as fast.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I've just learned that. I've burned enough cakes to know that. Calm down, I think, would be a good one for me, because, I have such an amazing team and staff, and they put up with me. It's like, dude, if you knew how
I
awesome
see your snaps.
I
see your snaps.
I mean, these guys, but even my brother who runs First Form day to day, and my business partner, and my other guys who are just the key people, they've all taken the time to understand my character. That dude, I'm intense and I want to win, and when shit gets screwed up, I'm like a monster.
Frustrated,
and they deal with it. And so I'm trying to work on appreciating everybody for who they are a little bit more, and not just for us trying to win in business. You know what I mean? And it's made my life a lot more fun.
That's good.
Yeah.
If you had an unlimited amount of money right now that you had to put towards solving one challenge in the world, or one issue or concern or thing, and you had to use the money on that thing, and it would solve that thing in the world, whether it be a disease or issue, emotional issues, whatever it may be, what would you do with that money?
Man, that's a hard question. I think I would use it to fix the education system. I think the traditional education system is broken. I think it teaches people to live inside a box that is predetermined by other people who have never been outside the box. And I would use it to evolve our education system to somehow be more accommodating to people who maybe think about different career paths other than just going out and getting a 9-to-5 job. You know what I mean? I had a very hard time in school because I've always been an entrepreneur. You know, I was a CD student all through school.
Me too.
And struggled, you know, because I always knew, like, these dudes would be out there teaching, and I'd be like, I'm never going to do this. Not what I'm going to do. I'm going to leave here. I'm going to go sell baseball cards.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I was not interested in it. So, and there was never an avenue for me to, like, besides what I did in my own time, to, like, cultivate that skill, you know, which is what's cool now, right? Like, because you could buy from people who are entrepreneurs, real entrepreneurs. There's a select few of them that you could buy their courses and learn how to be an entrepreneur. You couldn't do that when I was growing up or when you were growing up. So, you know, I don't know. I think the education system could be improved tremendously to help people, because I struggle with that, right? Like, I was a CD student, and I'm being told I'm stupid.
Yeah.
I'm being told I'm never. Dude, I had a guidance counselor tell me straight up that I, you know, hey, look, you're like a CD student, Andy. You know, guys like you, they don't really do that well in college. You know, you might want to look at just, like, you know, maybe getting in the family business or work construction, or, you know. And I'm thinking, like, dude, I don't want to do that. Like, you know, and I'm not stupid.
Yeah.
You know, you're fucking stupid. You know, and I just think that's a problem. You know, that's a major problem with that needs to be solved.
Sure, it's good. It'd be a good place to put the money.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
If this mic was connected to every person on the planet right now, and everyone put on headphones, and it was a direct line to everyone's ears,
yeah,
and you got 30 seconds to say a message, what would you say?
Oh man,
everyone would hear it.
Everyone
would have headphones in.
I would think of, like, the dirtiest joke I could possibly tell. Yeah, I got a couple of them. No, I don't know, man. Like, that's such a hard question. I think I would tell people straight up, like, look, you can analyze, you can think, you can guess, you can plan, but at the end of the day, it's going to come down to you starting and doing the work. You know, you have to go start, you have to go do. And you waiting is only delaying where you want to be. You know, we hear it from all the good entrepreneur gurus that it's execution. And it is. That's all it is. And so many people want to wait until they get permission from someone to say, oh, your plan's good, or you could do this, or you could be a part of this, which goes back to the education system, how we're programmed, that they don't do anything. And at the end of the day, I'm not a smart guy. I'm just a guy who does shit. Yeah. You know, and then I'm okay being wrong sometimes. You know, and I learn. So I would figure out a creative way to put that in 30 seconds to get people to understand,
sure.
You know, how to be okay with failing, man. Be okay with doing things and learning lessons. Welcome those things.
Yeah,
you know?
I love it. I love it. Check out the mfceoproject.com.
Yep.
Correct?
Yep.
Or go to the MFCEO Project on iTunes. Download the podcast for every Tuesday and Thursday.
Yep.
Entrepreneurial information, and then motivation on Thursday Thunder. Check out firstform.com.
Yep.
Check out, you've got kids' books that are awesome as well. What else do you have going on?
Yeah, the kids' books are cool. It's the passion project for me. You know, I was on my way to speak at Sundance Film Festival a couple years ago, and I was crabby. I wasn't in a good mood. And I was like, because, like, dude, you know, you speak a lot. So, like, do you ever get, this is a good question to ask you. Like, do you ever get, like, frustrated that you feel like people are not listening? Like, you're going to go up there and pour your heart out and give this information, and they're not going to do anything? Like, I just want them to do
frustrating.
It. Yeah, dude. Like, I just want you to go do it. You know? And so it is frustrating. So I was in one of those moods where I was like, you know, dude, I don't even want to do this because I'm going to go up there. I'm going to do a great job. I'm going to tell these people the truth, and they're going to go out and look for some other answer. Yeah. You know? And then so I started talking it out. I'm like, you know, we need to hit these people, like, before they've got all these pre-formed notions in their head. And I'm like, we need like a teenager book. And then I'm like, no, because they're already, like,
messed up.
Yeah. And then I'm like, man, you know what? I should write a kid's book. And like I said, because my brand, you know, the MFCEO stands for motherfucking CEO.
Right.
Like, it's high profanity. You know, it's intense.
Yes.
And so we were on a plane, and there was like 5 other people on the plane, and they started laughing. And then I looked up, and then everybody got quiet at once, and they're like, oh, dude, that's actually a great idea because it's a story in itself. Like, here's this crazy dude writing kids books.
Sure.
So we came up with this idea for kids books. The series is called Otis and Charlie's Hardworking Tales, and it's about it's based on the characters of my 2 actual dogs.
Yeah.
And it goes through, and it's a series of 8 books, and it goes through and it teaches parents. It's really a tool for parents to teach their kids how to communicate entrepreneurial lessons when maybe themselves weren't an entrepreneur. Because a lot of the questions I get were from parents. How do I teach my kids this even though I've never done this?
Right.
Okay. So we created this as a set of tools for parents who wanted to, instill these values in their children, but maybe hadn't lived those values themselves. Yeah. So it's very simple things, like you work competition, you work hard, you get rewarded. Simple things.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
But in a fun,
kids
playful
get it.
way.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
That's cool. And where can people get that?
Amazon.
Yeah. It's called
Otis and Charlie's Hardworking Tales.
I like it. Yeah. It's a good title.
Yeah.
Very cool, man. Well, before I ask the final question, Andy, I want to acknowledge you for a moment for your incredible gift and charisma to get a message across in a simple way for people to consume it who maybe weren't as smart in school and to be able to use it to take action in their life.
Thank you, man.
I know you help so many people just from your team at First Form, from the people that are taking the supplements to help them get better in their life, from the education you teach people about how to live a healthy lifestyle and fitness, from your audience, all the people that consume your information, they're all benefiting in a powerful way.
Thank you.
I want to acknowledge you for using your gifts to make an impact.
Thank you.
And be for good as opposed to for bad.
Thank you, brother. It means a lot, man.
Of course, man.
Thank
you. Of course. Final questions. What's your definition of greatness?
The pursuit of fulfillment of potential. I think that potential is always going to be a sliding scale. And if you gauge your greatness off of fulfilling your potential, you're never gonna feel successful or greatness. Because it's going to slide. You're gonna pursue this. You're going to improve. Your skills are going to improve, and your potential is going to expand.
Yes.
And I feel like as long as you're pursuing this and constantly growing and constantly pursuing, the natural principles that evolve from that process are going to create greatness in one's potential. So,
my man.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you, brother.
Appreciate it,
man.
Yeah.